Alright, so today's lesson we're looking at solving by graphing. So there's no notes really to fill out. So I just want to show you a couple things real quick, and then you guys can go ahead and work on the worksheet. So if we are given a function, a quadratic function, or any function really, we can graph it in the calculator. So if we go to y equals, and let's go ahead and type in this first problem from the worksheet. So we have x, which is the button right here, and then squared, plus 4x minus 5, and we go ahead and graph. So graph button. So we have the quadratic graphed on the screen here. So if we want to find the x-intercepts, if they're not clear, if they're not integers, we can go ahead and calculate these. So if we go second, and then this trace button above it says calc. So then the second option is 0. So we're finding zeros, which we know are x-intercepts. So we go down to 2, or just type 2 and enter. So it's asking for a left bound. So what that means is I want to be at an x value left of where we think the 0 is. So really, anywhere to the left of it doesn't matter. So notice how I'm to the left of the 0 here. We're going to hit enter, and then it wants a right bound, so I want to be to the right. So I just go above this one, and I hit enter. So on my calculator, you see these two dotted lines here. So what that's saying is it wants the calculator to look between those two dotted lines. And now the third option, time you need to guess where it's at. So I'm just going to move close to where the 0 is. It doesn't have to be on it. And we hit enter. So it's going to give me a 0, x equals 1. So we're going to go ahead and, if we want to graph it, we put a dot at 1, x equals 1. And then we're going to go back to second trace, which is the calc. We're going to go to find the other 0, so option 2 again. And then we're going to go over by hitting the left button or the right button to move sideways. You can hold it down. Now I'm to the left of where I think the 0 is. I'm going to hit enter, and then right bound, I need to be to the right of where I think it is. Hit enter, and then I need to guess where it's at. So I'm right there, hit enter, and it calculates it, and it says -5. So x equals -5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the graph, and then what we're going to do is find one more piece of information. We're going to find the vertex. So if we go to second trace, which is the calc again, we see a minimum or a maximum. So if we looked at the graph, we know that there's a minimum because it's in a parabola that's opening up. So we go to option 3. We hit enter, and same thing it's asking, left bound, so I'm going to the left of where I think the minimum value is, hitting enter, and then going to the right, hitting enter, and then we're guessing where it's at, so we're just moving close to where we think it is, and hitting enter, and it tells us right here the minimum. So this says x is -1.99 repeating, so we're going to say it's -2. And then the y value is -9, so at -2, -9 would be the vertex of the function. And then we're just going to connect the 3 dots. So that's all you have to do to graph and to calculate zeros and minimums or maximums. So that, I believe the fourth option is to calculate a maximum. Yep. So if the parabola were opening down, we would have a maximum value. We would select that option. So that's it for the graphing and calculating. Now, some of these problems I'm leaving kind of open for you guys to think about. the last thing I want to talk about is the last part of the story problems. We have a formula here. This formula right here. H of t equals v sub 0 times t minus 16t squared. So what this v sub 0 is the initial velocity. Okay, so whenever we're given an initial velocity, we can use this equation. So we talked about the other one when we had an initial height. That was h sub 0. So v sub 0 means initial velocity. So go ahead and try those problems, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, and we can talk about those. But it should be something where it's not too big because we're using the calculator. But if you need to go over the steps again, obviously just rewatch the video and walk through it with me and pause and try it on your own. So, all right, have a good one.